Call the meeting to order. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, let's see, the public forum. Please note that each person will have up to 2 minutes to speak at public forum, and please start by stating your name and address. Recognizing that there may be people at the meeting in person and participating remotely would like to speak. We'll go to the room first. Is there anyone in the room who would like to speak? Seeing none? Anything on Zoom? Okay, great. Consent agenda. The board will consider approving the consent agenda consisting of approval of the minutes of the June 15, 2021 meeting, accepting the following gifts from the ambulance fund in memory of Lawrence Tedstone. Number one, $75 from Joseph and Ann Roberts. Number two, $100 from Mary and Bill Terry, and accepting a $400 gift from the Hopkinton Public Library Foundation for the library's gift account. Board members, would you like to break any items out for a separate vote?
I'd break out number 2.
Anyone else? Okay, I request a motion to approve the consent agenda accepting item number 2.
So moved. Second.
Sorry, accepting number 1.
1 and 3.
Number 2.
1 is the minutes.
1 is the minutes.
2 is the gift.
3 is the library gift account.
Gotcha, okay. So we're carving out the gift to the ambulance fund.
Okay.
Right. Okay, so we have a motion that's been seconded?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Mr. Stetson.
So on ambulance fund gift, obviously I had my say last time, and there's been a few more donations. I will say that the Ann and Joe Roberts is one of my cousins, and Bill and Mary Terry are my aunt and uncle, and I want to say thank you very much to them for donating to my father and my son's grandfather's memory to the Hopkinton Ambulance Fund. So it means a lot to us as a family, and it shows some of the town fabric coming together. So thank you guys very much. It's very much appreciated.
And I think I can also add that I love to see the community support in the memory of Lawrence Tedstone, and I think any contributions to the ambulance fund are well worth it.
Yep, for anybody.
For anyone. So I request a motion to approve the gift to the ambulance fund.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. I call, this is a public hearing for the Hopkinton Spoon to amend their alcohol license. I call the public hearing to order. This public hearing is being held pursuant to an application to amend the Section 12 wine and malt on-premises alcohol license to allow permanent outdoor seating for the restaurant at 1 Lumber Street. Would Samantha Prescott please join the board and make a brief presentation describing the request? Make a brief presentation describing the request?
Sure. So I'm Samantha Prescott, the owner of The Spoon. When COVID hit, we were able to utilize the outdoor patio space right outside of The Spoon. It's been working out really well. The community seems to really enjoy it, and I would hope to formally be able to continue that space even after the regulations from COVID are over. It has just about 24 seats out there, and then to be able to continue to serve beer and wine out there would be very nice for the community.
Okay. Staff reports?
Through the chair, representing the town hall offices,
We have not received any adverse comments regarding the operations of the outdoor seating, and it's a development that we have all supported throughout the past COVID-19 months.
Board members?
I have a question, actually of our former planning board members. When we've done outside alcohol for establishments in the past, we have always made them fence in that particular area. This would be open sidewalk area unless you can do something about it.
So we have fenced the majority of the area off. The biggest issue is just from our back door to the patio space. We could fence that in as well. And then there's greenery that blocks off. We could continue to fence that in as well.
Okay.
Okay?
Any other questions?
No, that was my question too, and I know that it's been working temporarily.
Yeah.
But, controlling, when it's the everyday controlling alcohol, leaving your site. And so you have great confidence that you're able to do that comfortably.
Yep. Absolutely.
I don't think I have any additional comments.
And I'm all set as well. Do you have any comments from the public? Ben, anyone on Zoom?
Mr. Chair, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve an amendment to the Section 12 wine and malt license to show 24 outdoor seats in the patio location as shown in the submitted plan. And I don't know what the verbiage would be on that motion in regards to the fencing.
If I may.
Want to just add the additional fencing to your motion?
Sam, are you okay with that? Yeah. Okay, yeah, with the additional fencing as required, as discussed.
Yeah. Do I hear a second?
Second?
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Just like to say, really glad you made it through, by the way. I'm really glad to see you open and people there. I think it's
really good to be back, and the public has been absolutely incredible. So,
that's awesome.
I'm a big fan of the Jebbit.
It's actually the breakfast burrito that's the thing you don't want to miss.
No, it's a veggie Benedict. That's my favorite.
No, it's been awesome. So I'm very fortunate. Very fortunate.
I'm just waiting for a pandemic burger, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're a little early for the next public hearing, so.
We can definitely do this.
Mr. Chair, if you would not mind announcing that item number 7 will not be proceeding tonight.
Yes, so the planning board has asked us to postpone the appointment of the planning board member to fill the vacated seat to July 12th, as several members could not be present. Will select board members be able to attend a remote meeting of the planning board on July 12th?
Potentially, I don't know with all these rainouts going on with my kids' sports. I coach some of these, so. But more than likely, I would say yes.
Okay, I mean, it's Monday, you have every day. Every
Not
day.
Fridays.
Okay.
I am definitely available.
I can be remote, but
Yep, I'll be remote as well. It's going to be remote.
Yeah,
So, and,
I'd be coaching third base, but
yeah. Ms. LaFrenia, would you be able to attend on July 12th?
Yeah, it's all right.
Okay, great.
we have 2 minutes. Mr. Kamala, is there, I'm not the chair.
Go ahead. Mr. Kamala, is there something else that we can attack?
Yeah, number 8, annual appointments.
So the board will continue making annual appointments to boards and committees and offices this evening. So select board appointments, I request a motion to appoint the following to the terms indicated. Town Council, Mears and Harrington, LLP, term from 7/1/2021 to 6/30/2022. Labor Council, Merrick O'Connell, the term from July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022. Select Board designee to the Metro West Regional Transit Authority Advisory Board. Mary Jo Lafreniere, her term would be July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022. And traffic constables with terms from July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2024. Those would be Patrick O'Brien, Kenneth Clark, Ryan Riley, Brenda Stanley, Kylie Davis, and Nicole Corsi.
A few more.
So moved.
Wait, we have a few more, as well as
So
Michael
when you finish.
Prescott, Kevin Rice, Reese, Farai Sitoli, Robert Karen, and Sarah Jordan.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstained? Passes unanimously.
Perfect.
All right, I think we're on time.
You're more than on time, my friend.
Thank you.
You can come up.
Good evening. So it's 6:55. This is a public hearing for Weston Nursery special temporary alcohol license and entertainment license.
Yes.
I called a public hearing to order. This public hearing is being held pursuant to an application to approve a temporary alcohol license and a single event entertainment license for Weston Nurseries for the Blooms, Brews, and Barbecue Festival on Saturday, September 18, 2021, from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. at 93 East Main Street. The applicant has also requested a fee waiver. You've
I'm
joined us.
clearly
Would
not
like to
Peter.
make a brief presentation describing your request.
So my name is Melissa Frank. I'm the Marketing and Events Director. So thank you for seeing us and allowing me to take Peter's place this evening. He's indisposed. He couldn't be here. The event is going to be, I believe, our third annual. It would have been our fourth if COVID didn't happen. It's all for the benefit of the Jimmy Fund. We're really excited to hold it. As you know, we work closely with the police and the fire departments, and I spoke with both of those gentlemen while we were waiting, so thank you for allowing me that opportunity. The only thing we're going to do a little bit different this year is make sure that people know it is a family event, so we're going to add a bouncy house for the kids and hopefully be able to have a fire truck there for kids to play on and one or two more food trucks for kids, as we want people to understand it is a family event more than it is a party, because it's raising money for the Jimmy Fund, which is really important.
Okay. Staff reports? Ms. Kumar?
Yeah, through the chair. In fact, this would be the third time running the event. It's been a successful event, compliant with all town requirements, and the community has had favorable comments on the delivery and the execution of the event.
Excellent. So there's no staff comments on it? Or?
No adverse comments other than just a reminder that the food vendors will require licensing by the Board of Health.
So I've already spoken to all of them and told them that they need to get it done by the end of this month, and if they don't, I'm going to go to the next vendor, because I have great respect for Nydia, and I know how busy she is. So I want to make sure that she doesn't have to really scramble at the last minute. She's so wonderful to us, and because of you and Nydia, we've been able to keep a lot of food trucks in business during COVID, and that meant a lot to us because we kept people working where they might not have been able to otherwise. So we want to make sure that we show her how much we appreciate her by getting it all done really early.
Fantastic. Okay, board members, do you have any questions?
So my only comment is, I've been to this event every single year that it's happened. I go to every event that Mr. Mezet puts on.
Thank you.
And they do absolutely top-notch. They do a great job parking people. They do a great job with crowd control, getting the wristbands on, positive IDs, tip certified, you know, kind of keeping in check any excessive alcohol drinking. They've done a wonderful job through the entire process, through all of their events. So I am wholeheartedly fully support this event.
Thank you.
And the waiver of the fees.
Any other board member comments?
I just had a question. So
Yes.
it states here it's September 18th.
Yes.
In our packet, it said October On page 40, it says October 3rd, but it is really September 18th.
Definitely September 18th. It used to be earlier in September, but this year with COVID and all the other changes, we thought, you know what, we're going to put it someplace between where we normally did it and then closer to the actual marathon that's being run, because we're not doing a marathon event this year. We might have a band out front, but that's it. So we wanted to make this our premier event. So that's why we sort of put it right in the middle.
Probably better weather in September, too.
Yeah, and we thought it would be a little nicer because last year, or the year before, it's a little mosquito-y, and nobody wants to be bitten while they're having fun.
I just wondered, I know that you do this for the Jimmy Fund, and that's amazing, and the Jimmy Fund walk, it was not able to happen last year because of
Yeah.
COVID, and again, this year, it's not happening, so.
It's a virtual event.
Yes.
So we're still going to run a virtual team.
Awesome. I just wondered if you could share with us how much you've been able to donate to the Jimmy Fund. I think it's pretty important for everybody to know
Yeah.
how amazing that is.
Thank you for that question, because it gives us joy. We've raised over $150,000 for the
That's
Jimmy Fund,
amazing.
thanks to all of you. We can't take credit for it. We just give everyone an opportunity and a location to do really wonderful things and to have fun doing it. It's the perfect combination. And this is such an amazing town. So everybody's really supportive.
I'm fully in support, too, and I appreciate that you do it each year, and I have heard great things about it, too. I'm going to have to, usually I'm walking or supporting a team on the Jimmy Fund. I'll
Oh,
have
you
to come.
definitely need to come because
will.
it's a really fun event. I mean, it truly is. There's no one, everybody's just happy. It's not, a large event that sometimes is just not. It's just a happy, wonderful event.
Awesome.
And most of our bands are actually local too, which is really great.
Also great.
Now
So,
that you're a member of the select board, it exempts you from walking. It's an executive privilege.
but yeah, if you want to join our virtual team, we give you T-shirts and
So
we'll
we
pay your
actually,
fees.
I'll throw a plug, we have a team of kids who I walked the first year when they were
great.
9, and I had a bunch of mothers saying, I don't think they can do this, and one mother, me, saying, oh, they can definitely do that. We did the half marathon for a few years, but we had a little brother who is, I can happily report, tall, strong, and healthy. that
Oh,
we
that's
were walking
beautiful.
for. It's an amazing story, actually.
Incredible.
Yeah,
And
that's
we
beautiful.
still walk, we've been walking, it would have been 10 years last year.
Congratulations.
We'll be back.
Mary Jo, do you have any comments or questions?
No, I've been to some of the events at Western Nurseries, and I've had a great time at every one, and they've been well-organized and well-run, and I'm in full support.
Thank you.
So my only question is, who's supplying the beer?
So we are going to go through, most likely this year, because we're not going to go with the liquor store we did, we're going to go through an actual distributor who has all the licensing in place, and Ted, wonderful, lovely Ted, who we all adore from Start Line, is going to give us all of his tip-certified servers. So we can be assured, again, supporting local businesses. So he will, of course, be there with food and his wonderful beer.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Ben, are there any members of the public that are raising their hand to comment?
Mr. Chair, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstained? Passes.
Thank you all very much. Enjoy
Hold
your
up,
night.
hold up.
We're not done. Mr. Chair, I move to approve a special temporary alcohol license and single event entertainment license for the Blooms, Brews, and Barbecue Festival on Saturday, September 18, 2021, from 11 a.m. till 7 p.m., 93 East Main Street, and to grant a waiver of application fees because it is a charity fundraiser event.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstained?
Thank you all.
Thank you.
And I hope to see you all in
Looking
September
forward to
18th.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Going back to the select board appointments. So I request for the town manager appointments, I request a motion to confirm the following town manager appointments to terms from July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022. Inspector of Animals, Elizabeth Jeffries. Animal Control Officer, William Proctor. Plumbing and Gas Inspector, Charles Debritz. Assistant Plumbing and Gas Inspector, Peter Zareski. Assistant Plumbing and Gas Inspector, Dan Hunt. Wiring Inspector, Kevin Bure. Person to cut wire in case of fire, Kevin Bure. Assistant Wiring Inspector, Jonathan Shepard. Sealer of Weights and Measures, Louis Sakin. Public Weigher, John Palmer. Public Weigher, Jayanne Adams. Jane Adams, thank you. Public Weigher, Jamie Wright. Public Weigher, Chelsea Adams. Public Weigher, William Robinson. And Public Weigher, Will Crofton.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I do have a question, if it's all right.
Sure.
So I get questions about these from members of the public sometimes. So these are not they're not like a regular full-time volunteer role or full-time job position. They are just called in when needed to inspect something. Is that correct?
Correct, for the most part, correct.
They're not employees. They're just
Yes.
on call as needed. Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, it passes.
Mr. Chair, my answer being, for the most part, yes, I just wanted to single out the animal control officer. Is a regular part-time employee.
He is a regular person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Board and committee appointments. There are no contested seats. The board has received a list of appointments in its meeting packet. Would any member like to pull one or more out for a separate vote or discuss a specific appointment first? No.
I just wanted to give to call out Alicia Bowen, who she was not able to be appointed last time to Cultural Council or Youth Commission, so I'm really glad that she looked at the list again and found another one where she would be a good fit, and now we can appoint her, because she's a new volunteer.
Excellent.
I agree.
So I request a motion to appoint the following individuals to various boards and committees listed to the terms identified. So Nancy Dawes to the Council on Aging to a term expiring June 30th, 2024. Alicia Bowen to the Personnel Committee to a term expiring June 30, 2024. Kenneth Barker to the Sustainable Green Committee to a term expiring June 30, 2024. Kenneth Parker to the Upper Charles Trail Committee to a term expiring June 30th, 2024. Nancy Peters to the Woodville Historic District Commission, Historical Commission nominee to a term expiring June 30th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
And thanks to all of them for throwing their hat
Thank
in.
everyone for contributing your time. And I'm glad that, as you said, that we were able to find some spots.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Sure.
I want to recognize that Kathy LaFlash, who's stepping down from the Personnel Committee, has actually been on that committee for close to 26 years.
Oh, my goodness.
And with your permission, we'll be sending a thank you note to him.
Absolutely.
For service.
Permission granted.
I would dare you not to have your mother come up to town hall.
It's a good reminder, though, that a lot of people, like a lot of the names we see are names we see often, and it's awesome to see new names, it really is, and it's a real privilege to see people who, like Kathy LaFlash, have served for so long. We're really blessed to have that kind of service in this town.
Yeah, I talked to her a couple of weeks ago. She said she's been on that committee 26 years, but was very happy to see new people having interest.
Yeah.
She's just such a nice person, too. On top of everything else, she's just a really nice person.
I think it's just fantastic to see this level of community engagement and people wanting to be a part of it. So, fantastic. I love it. Appointments, new employees. Select Board will consider confirming the town manager's appointment of Jessica Mignol, the Assistant Director for Senior Services, Lucas Ferreira, Data and Application Support Specialist. Mr. Kamalo.
Through you, Mr. Chair, with your permission, we want to invite Jessica.
She's not here.
Oh, she's participating remotely?
Oh, she's on Zoom?
Okay, great, thank you. We're very excited to be recommending Jessica to be the town's next Assistant Senior Services Director. Her name came to the forefront following several rounds of interviews. The first round of interview was paneled by Amy Beck, Bill Krause from the Fire Department, and Jessica from the HR Department. The second round interview panel included the Director, Amy Beck, the Assistant Town Manager, Elaine Lazarus, Jay Guelphy, the Park and Rec Director, Chief Sleman, and Police Officer and Elder Affairs Liaison Molly McGuffigan, and the HR Director, Maria Casey. The recommendation is coming forward to the board after consultation with the town manager, and why I felt so strongly about this candidate is the information that we received, not just from the interview panelists, but also from the references. The references did confirm that this is an individual who is resourceful. For this kind of work, we're always looking for employees who are able to identify additional resources that our seniors can benefit from. We also heard that she is very friendly, outgoing, and very easy to relate to. And that is exactly what our seniors have asked us for. I am reminded of several interviews that I attended together with the former and late senior services director. At the end of each interview, she'll look at the candidate and ask, "Do you love seniors?" Which is actually, again, a really wonderful trademark to have as an employee in that department. She is appropriately qualified in terms of her education, holds a Bachelor of Science in Human Development and Families, Family and Community Settings from the University of Rhode Island, as well as a master's degree in public administration from Anna Maria College.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi. Thank you for having me. So I'm pretty excited about this opportunity. I've been working with seniors now for about 10 years in a variety of settings, both within housing and within social programming, health and wellness programming. It's truly a passion of mine, so I am very excited to take on this role.
Excellent. Board members, do we have any questions or comments?
No, so to your point, Mr. Kamalo, I work in the geriatric or aging community, and it's nothing that you can fake. You either love doing it or you are in it for a paycheck and you're not there long. And it's a wonderful industry. It's great to take a paycheck home doing it, but it's nice to be able to give back to the seniors, these people that have kind of made the town and state and country what it is. And anybody that has an interest in working in this environment certainly has my backing. And knowing Amy as I do, I know that if you were into it for strictly a paycheck, you wouldn't be here seeking our approval. So it's a wonderful line of work that you've chosen, and if the board sees to it, welcome to Hopkinton.
Anyone?
I'll ask a question. Tell us a little bit about what you're looking forward to working with our seniors here in Hopkinton. What are your sort of near-term, long-term goals?
So short term, the goal obviously is to get to know the program participants. Long term, my goal is to ensure that they can have a high quality of life, not just kind of sit in retirement with nothing to do. They should still feel empowered, and they should still feel like their lives have meaning, and that they can give back, and that they are important, and that they have a purpose. And my long-term goal is to ensure that the aging population of Hopkinton can continue to just age successfully and healthy and happily.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Ferrier, any questions?
Well, it's liaison to the Council on Aging, and I've spent a lot of time the last couple of years down at the Senior Center with Amy and everybody else down there. And it's a fabulous place, and you would be, I think you will really enjoy working with our senior community. They're great people, and I think you're really going to like it, and I'm going to say welcome aboard.
I'll just add briefly, like, we're very excited to have a new person on board now that we're going to be, now we're opening the senior center and everybody can go back, and we're all excited about that. I know my daughter is really excited for the puzzles that they have for sale there, and we haven't been able to get new puzzles for a long time at COVID, but welcome, and we're glad to have you.
And I echo what everyone else has said. Welcome aboard. I have one quick question for Mr. Kamalo. These positions are backfills?
Correct. The former assistant director retired to joined in a much larger community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Welcome aboard. Do we need to take a vote on this?
Yes, please.
Yes, we do.
Mr. Chair, I move to confirm the town manager's appointment of Jessica Mignol as Assistant Director, Senior Services.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Welcome.
Any opposed?
Now we can say welcome aboard.
No, say welcome.
We have one more. Mr. Kamalo?
Ahead of myself.
Yes, moving on. Lucas Ferreira for the Data and Application Support Specialist position. This is a position that is filling the vacancy that was created by Esther's resignation, who also went on to join, I believe, Harvard University. It's a position that performs a wide range of duties, including software support, business analysis, data analysis, help desk support, as well as the administration of our GIS and map creation program. Louis is joining us with a very interesting background. For one, it's always gratifying for me, and I believe most of my colleagues, when we are able to attract graduates to join public service. He is also an individual who has worked in the care business. He's a very caring individual. Currently, most recently, he worked for Autism Behavior Center in Berlin, Massachusetts. He has a Bachelor of Science Geography degree with a minor in computer science. So this fits perfectly for the role that we are filling. His references revealed that he's a deep thinker. Perhaps that's why he's doing well as an analyst. They also confirmed that he is curious. We enjoy having that type of a trait in this position because data is data. Anybody can tell you what number it is, but one has to be very curious to understand what's behind that data and to better represent it to a wider public. More spectacularly, we were also assured that when he is reviewing data, he's always anticipating what the next step should be or what the next question should be. That makes him a great analyst. And finally, it was confirmed to us that what we had understood during the interview process was actually representative of who he is, a very empathetic individual. The first round panel included the IT Director, Josh Grossetti, the HR Director, Maria Casey, and the HR Generalist, Christine Merrill. The second round interview panel had the Assistant Town Manager, Elaine Lazarus, the DPW Director, John Westerling, the Principal Planner, John Gelsich, the IT Director, Joshua Grossetti, the Police Chief, Joe Bennett, and the HR Director, Maria Casey. And through the Chair, I am very pleased to present Lucas Ferreira as the town's prospective Data and Application Support Specialist.
Excellent, thank you. Is Lucas joining us?
Yeah.
Yes, I am here.
Hi, Lucas. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm a recent graduate from Worcester State University. I studied GIS and computer science. I want to work for Hopkinton's IT department because my experience using GIS to contextualize geospatial data into business solutions and interdisciplinary data sets are particularly well suited for this position. I'm eager to fulfill the town's technology and map-making needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Board members, any questions or comments? Mr. Fredson?
Lucas, what drew you to apply at Hopkinton?
So I am a Milford native, so I'm very local, and I'm specifically looking for an opportunity to work in municipalities. So I was very happy to know that Hopkinton has a GIS need.
Thank you. Mr. Ferrier?
Well, actually, that's what I was going to ask him, but
I read your notes.
So you really want to do the technical work, right? You're really into IT?
Correct.
Okay.
Ms. Redbush?
I was just going to add, I think during COVID, when everybody was working remotely, it was really hard to be short on an IT person this year, so I'm really glad that we were able to find someone, and it sounds like you're going to be a good fit. And I love the town's GIS system. You know, you can look up anything about a property or the zoning or the land or the historic value. It's a huge benefit to the residents to be able to access that at home.
Great. Ms. Mayor Kramer?
Yeah, hi. Welcome. I'm particularly interested in some of the work that you did during your college and working with underprivileged communities, utilizing your skills to do some projects and advance some issues and causes, so it's really nice to see. What is something you think that Hopkinton might do with the capabilities that we have? What is something you'd like to see us be able to do in the future with our existing capabilities and talents of folks like yourself?
Well, given your capabilities, what I can make in terms of map making is pretty much endless. The real question is if it should be a private map or a public map. I believe that all the data that you have currently available for your schools, including your MCAS scores, could be made into internal maps that would help your school system understand better where their students are coming from as regards to how they're doing with their academic achievements levels and understanding like their physical backgrounds and their families, and seeing that on a geographical map to understand really kind of the background of the student. For me, is something that I did personally with a project through Worcester, which was my college town, and I took a look at racial segregation within the school as well as academic test scores for MCAS. So that's one thing that comes to mind, but that would be a private map just to communicate with school officials just in regards to where students are at. As far as something publicly that you could share is having to do with sewer, wastewater, and contamination sites.
Okay, great.
I look forward to those possibilities and more.
Okay.
Good answer. Go ahead.
With seeing as how you're talking about GIS, I was just wondering, are you going to be able to help us out in the assessing department with your GIS knowledge?
Yes, my intention is to be able to make a difference in the GIS component of every department in the town.
Okay.
Well, I think it's obvious to me your curiosity and your insight. It seems like it seems to permeate with every answer that you've given us. So I have no questions. I'm impressed, and I'm certainly in favor of the town manager's recommendation.
So I would move to confirm the town manager's appointment of Lucas Ferreira for Data and Application Support Specialist.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstained? No. Welcome aboard.
Welcome to Hopkinton.
Glad to have you. Moving on. So, community update. The Hopkinton Chamber of Commerce and its Greenway Green Committee have been, Gateway Green Committee, thank you, have been awarded the Community Greening Award for the best traffic island by the Tower Hill Botanical Garden. The award recognizes individuals who make their community more inviting through their planting and gardening efforts. Board members, anything you would like to add or comment?
So I had driven by there a few times, and I was getting ready to text Mr. Kamalu to ask him what was going on with the island. It was not mulched, it was not looking very good, and all of a sudden, 2 days later, it was completely mulched, looked absolutely dynamite, and through our deputy fire chief, I don't believe we've had any bark mulch fire calls at that location. So it looks like they used some pretty premium materials there, not to spontaneously combust. So wonderful job by all involved.
Mr. Freddie?
I just want to say congratulations to the chamber and just remind them I am the liaison to the Sustainable Green Committee, and if anybody on the chamber would like to coordinate with them on a few issues, I'm sure that they would be more than delighted to hear from them. That's all. Congrats.
Ms. Whitbush?
Yeah, I just want to publicly say thank you to the Chamber of Commerce and the donors who made that possible. I didn't know there was an award for the best Tropic Island, but that's really exciting.
If there is an award, we want it, right? Ms. Weber?
Yeah, no, congratulations, it's awesome. I too did not know that this award existed, but I'm glad that it does. And I'm not surprised that we won it, so that's awesome.
So I just want to say, I've driven by this island for years, and it looked like nothing. And then one day, the community came together and planted on it and made it gorgeous. And each time I go by, I'm impressed, and I think, finally, we're getting some recognition for it. So congratulations. I think I'm glad we won the award. Well deserved.
So I was on the board when we were getting this approved, and despite these 5 or 6 entities that had donated their time and materials, and it was not without a pretty big fight from internally with the board. If you remember, Mr. Kamalu, there was a pretty big internal discussion and heated debate on whether we should have this go through or not go through, and the thought was, we'll let it go through, they'll get their names on it, and then they'll forget about it, and here we are 6 years later, 5 years later anyways, and they're still maintaining it every year, and they're doing a great job. So you're right, Mr. Nasrullah, it's a wonderful thing, and I know that Mr. Mastriani had to, volunteer to put water in, and so he irrigated it, and Mr. Mezet did the landscaping and the trees, and there were some pretty sizable financial donations made by some companies and by some families, and there it is. It looks beautiful as you get off 495.
It really does. And it's unlike any other town.
54B.
Awesome. For this next item, I will be recusing myself and letting the vice chair take over. I will return when you're done.
All right, Mr. Herr.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is Anna Karnofsky of 132 East Main Street has asked to address the board regarding the permitted solar project and her proposal that the town acquire the land off of Franklin Road. And I believe she'll be joining us by Zoom.
She's on the phone, not by Zoom.
Calling into Zoom or
And we have set aside 5 minutes for this agenda item.
It's very hard to hear you on the Zoom. I think generally the other people in my group think it is hard, but we have 4 people, including myself, to say a few words. So first is Liisa Jackson. Lisa?
So can we liven up Lisa?
Yes. Hi, this is Liisa Jackson. Can you guys hear me?
Yep. Can. And your address?
Yeah, so I just wanted to speak about the trails behind the old Liberty Mutual. I know there's a solar farm plant back there, but there are some amazing trails that connect to Halt's Land, Hopkinton Area Land, Trust Land, and without easement to those trails, it would be landlocked. There's also a beautiful pond back there. There's an old chimney that was part of an older household. It's a new growth forest, and there's along Cross Street there is like a lower level of a barn and an old foundation there. It's just a very nice property, and I know that the solar company owns it. I didn't know if there was any way that community preservation funds could purchase that property, or we could work with the solar company to make sure there were trail easements and a significant amount of open space. If I recollect, I think it's 68 acres. So that's what we're speaking to the select board about tonight, really to advocate for the preservation of that property.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hold on, Ann.
Can we just...
Ann, hold on.
Just get the four speakers, and then we'll talk with you if we can understand what you're saying on the Zoom. Is that all right?
Hold on just a moment, Ann.
Okay,
Through the vice chair, is what these people are talking about is the part of land that's going to be the solar farm that's privately owned, right?
It's privately owned right now.
So there was an attempt by the town to go to these landowners and buy the land and to do something, but they were unwilling to even entertain an offer. So it's privately owned land. We really don't have anything, there's nothing that we can do for this.
Okay, can we, excuse me, but
Oh,
we
go right
have
ahead.
other ideas. And so, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to use our 5 minutes that we have allotted on the agenda.
Yeah, if you want, go ahead. You got 4 more minutes.
I have time.
Okay, I'm Ann Karnofsky, the chairman of Save the Forest, the citizens group, and we are aware that the abutters of the forest are scheduling a court fight in Superior Court, which will be coming up in 2 or 3 years. I don't know that Seaport Solar is doing anything else as a project. I don't think they're particularly enthusiastic about this one. They are determined to do this one, and we are determined that they won't be doing it, because if they intrude on the forest, they'll ruin it for everyone. We don't want any solar in there, and I've given you a precedent of the city of Newton taking a forest from Boston College. Do you all have that?
We received it.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so the cost would not be anything the same. We're not talking about in the millions. We're talking probably more like $350,000, which the Community Preservation Committee already favored, I believe. So what I would like to suggest is that the town have the forest parcel appraised, and then that town council think about taking that parcel by eminent domain, prescriptive easement, or adverse possession for the welfare, health, and safety of the town residents and for the benefit of the town's master plan. I think if we do this now, we won't have to wait 2 or 3 years, and the money saved by not going to court could be put into the land purchase along with the community preservation funds. That's all I have to say. Now, we have 2 more speakers. We have Thom Robertson and then Bob Ianta. Tom's calling from Maine.
Okay.
Thom?
207 area code? Well, I don't know. Maybe it's a cell phone.
Is he on the Zoom?
It looks like this one's already...
Well, if we
he's
can't get
muted.
Thom, let's get Bob Ianta, and then maybe then Thom could press *9 and *6. Bob, why don't you go on next? Bob Ianta?
Okay, hi. My name is Bob Ianta, and I live at 50 Franklin Road, right down the street from the Liberty Mutual building and the proposed solar site. I just wanted to throw my enthusiasm behind the idea of acquiring this land by any means possible. The property there is one of the last vestiges of open land that we have in this side of Hopkinton that's not host to a development. I really feel as though I've been in Hopkinton for about 35 or 40 years now, and it's certainly changed a lot in those years. And when I first came here, it sort of felt like it reminded me of one of those beautiful Adirondack towns up in upstate New York that I used to go to all the time, because it had the lakes and it had lots of forest and there was open space, and it was a really beautiful town. And I think it still is, but it is in danger of becoming a few isolated islands of forest and lake, surrounded by masses of development now. And I'm afraid that just destroying one more piece of forest, actually a pretty significant piece of forest, is really going to be decimation for this particular part of the town, this neighborhood on the east side. So I really hope that the town can find a way to acquire that land, in spite of the fact that the developer that now owns it is really not very cooperative. So I do hope you'll consider that.
Okay, so that was the 5-minute timer.
Hello,
Can we get Thom Robertson to press *9 and then *6? He's phoning in.
I think we could allow 30 seconds.
I think we can let a minute go.
Okay, so let's...
We have a minute.
You have 1 minute. Thom Robertson, go ahead.
Thom,
are you on there?
he's on mute. All right.
What do you press on the phone? Is it *9? Is it to unmute?
I don't remember. *6, *9.
I don't know. But, so going back to my initial point.
Can you hear me?
Here he is.
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, great. My name is Thom Robertson. I live at 15 Foreman Road, and I am in the butter to the Franklin property. I have opposed the solar power plant since I first became aware of it, but my concerns were treated as NIMBY complaints. But the truth is, while I don't like it, I can weather the decline in my property values. What I can't stomach is the wholesale destruction of a mature forest and vibrant ecosystem that has served as a community resource for decades. For over 20 years, I've been traversing the trails upon this property. I've met hundreds of neighbors and fellow travelers over the years on these very trails. Horseback riders traveling to Hopkinton State Park, cross-country skiers, joggers, nature lovers of all kinds. We as a group, with the help of the Boy Scouts and Paul, have kept the trails clean and passable over these many years. Open space like this is becoming increasingly scarce in Hopkinton, but it is these very open spaces that give Hopkinton its character, contribute to the well-being of the community and value of its residential properties. The open space is particularly unique in that its trails connect with other open spaces. There's a diverse ecosystem, mature forests, wetlands, and abundant wildlife. There are colonial walls, structural ruins throughout the property, and indigenous artifacts. My daughter and I hang burlap stockings that are still standing.
Okay, it's time to wrap up. The minute is up.
Filled with seeds for quote-unquote...
Thom, you gotta sum it up here, buddy.
Last sentence. To our town leaders, I implore you to act to save this property, not...
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Now, I think the main gist of what we're trying to ask you to do is, instead of waiting 2 or 3 years for the court case to come up, we would like you to appraise the forest and then consult with town council about how to take it by eminent domain. So we'll leave the floor to the select board.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Ben.
Okay, so now we could have a brief discussion amongst the select board. Does anyone have any thoughts or comments?
So I stand by my initial comment, and as much as I agree with, I always hate to see the woods go away. If the property owner doesn't want to sell it to us, there's nothing we can do about it. So I stand by my first statement.
Okay.
Mary Jo?
Well, I kind of have to agree with you, as much as I hate to. Not agree with you, that is. But, you know, people who own their own property don't want other people telling them what they can do with it. And as much as I feel we need rules and regulations and bylaws and all that sort of thing, if these people don't want to sell us their property, I don't see really how we can make them do it.
Ms. Kramer?
Yeah, hi all, thanks for coming. I do know a couple of things. The planning board made a really concerted effort to preserve a lot of the trails. It won't be the same, but a lot of the trees in the really prime proper area on the property owner has agreed to preserve it. It's not the same as the whole thing being preserved, I know, and I agree that I would, you know, I like to preserve trails and trees and as much as possible. I will say, for the record, taking property by eminent domain is a heavy lift, and for all the right reasons. It shouldn't be easy for a town to sort of wrestle control of property away from a property owner. That being said, I would support, you know, enthusiastic conversations and attempts and keeping the door open to the possibility of acquiring that property, but through sort of more typical means.
I think I would just add that I think the townspeople generally agree with the people who spoke tonight that they would rather that forest be preserved and not made into a solar farm. But I agree, it's very difficult to take land from someone if they don't want to sell it. But it's been about a year, I think, since we visited this. I don't think it hurts to talk to the landowner again in case anything has changed. And it sounds like CPC was generally supportive and the townspeople were generally supportive. So I don't think it hurts to try again, but I'm not too hopeful about an eminent domain. But we would have to discuss that, I think, in executive session, correct? So
the particulars of it, but
yeah.
But isn't it it's a town meeting decision, right?
If it were CPC funding, yeah, or any land purchase or acquisition.
Just in Hopkinton, eminent domain questions inspire an awful lot of citizen interest. Again, for all the right reasons, eminent domain is a big hammer that is sometimes seen more as a weapon than a tool. And needs to be really utilized really carefully and thoughtfully.
And if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Kamala, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the rights of adverse possession does not pertain to commercial properties. Is that not true?
That's a legal question.
Yeah, it's a question for Amy Harris.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Okay, so thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you. Mr. Nasrullah, welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be back. Okay, moving on. Local input requested from for the federal stimulus funding. The board will consider potential local needs for federal COVID-19 pandemic recovery funding outside of those expected to be covered by the $5.4 million in funding that the town will receive directly. Per Representative Dykma, Massachusetts will be receiving additional funding from the American Rescue Plan, including $5.2 billion in funds that will be allocated by the state legislature in coordination with the governor to meet pressing community needs. Such needs might include affordable housing, water infrastructure, transportation, downtown recovery, behavioral health, and culture and tourism. Mr. Khumalo.
Through the chair, a couple of points as way of background. After receiving the email from Representative Dykma, the chair and I, in fact, reached out to her by phone just to seek some guidance in terms of how far we could take this conversation. She was clear on the point that she is requesting this input as part of her preliminary planning efforts. Nothing is set in stone yet. She just wants to get a good sense as to, if this was to be available to the communities, what would Hopkinton hope for? Secondly, I also distributed the email to our department heads. And in your packet, I included a listing of the suggestions that came from all the town departments, including the school department.
I missed that, I'm sorry.
Page 70, is it? Or no, those are the categories.
I apologize, keep going, I'm sorry.
Is this the one on page 70? Or no, these are just potential.
What page is it?
Yeah, page 70.
Yeah, let me see.
All right. Thanks for your technological assist to the... I didn't mean to interrupt you, Mr. Kamalo. I'm sorry. I just didn't know where that was.
Yeah, in fact, those were my 2 points, i.e. we did consult with the Representative Dagmar's office, as well as we have provided some input from department heads.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get to this. I think that it's also important to know that there should be a nexus between the funding requests and the purpose of these 2 funding sources, one being COVID relief and the second being infrastructure. Yeah. That we need some type of nexus between those 2. Mm-hmm. Board members.
Well, I just want to thank Representative Dagmar for keeping us up to date, and I hope that and I know that she will continue to do that on this issue. And I just want to thank her.
Ms. Ridlos?
Yeah, I was I wondered, it's good to have this list of things that could qualify. Do you need us to help prioritize, or is it possible we could apply for all of these things?
I think at this point, given the fact that she needs the information for her preliminary planning purposes, there may not be a need for the town to prioritize.
Okay.
I think what we could do is to simply forward the list. If the board has any additional suggestions beyond the projects that are listed in the document shared with the board in your packet, we will gladly add them.
Yeah, I guess I would say the behavioral support for returning to for maintaining well-being while returning to normalcy seems very important to me. And same thing, professional learning for staff to help the school and the public return to normalcy. I think it's very important, and some economic relief as well to the businesses. I think would be very, very much needed. So.
Ms. Kramer?
Yeah, thank you. So that was one of the questions I had, is where one piece of input starts and one ends. So we have the federal money that will come straight to the town, right? That also covers some of these priorities. So I guess I just want to make sure first that we spread out the opportunity across town priorities, and if one fits in one category neatly, that's where we aim to put it, and then we redirect our attention. But the real item for me that pops that I'd like to add is specifically equity concerns. What we have learned in the COVID pandemic in a way that we cannot ignore is that equity is a huge concern ongoing. And more especially and more personally and more at home. We've lost a couple of young people this year, and they fell into marginalized communities, and it would be really wonderful if we had some sort of concerted, targeted effort townwide to pursue equity, anti-bullying, inclusion efforts as part of this.
I think that would kind of fall within the mental health.
I think the behavioral health support,
It
yeah.
does,
Yeah,
but I'd like it to
support.
be explicit, if that's okay. It can certainly fall under behavioral health, mental health, but it doesn't necessarily get captured, so I'd like to make sure it is.
It has to somehow relate to COVID recovery too, right?
Equity.
Yeah, equity.
Yeah, equity and behavioral health.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think
Yep.
that's how you tie it in. The one thing that I kind of, I'm seeing is the Milford to Ashland Upper Charles Trail connection, and we have it under the COVID economic recovery. And I understand why. People were going outdoors a lot more during the lockdown, and enjoying the great outdoors, but I think it would also fall under a transportation need as someone who commutes on a bicycle would be able to use these trails. So if we were to be denied under COVID for the Upper Charles Trail, I think that, let's look at it again under the transportation and infrastructure.
Good point. In fact, when we were reviewing the two buckets that we came up with, we did identify a couple projects that fall within both. And so if the instruction is that if they fall within both, that we should duplicate the entry, we will do so.
Now, do we know if it's possible to get funding under both programs for the same project?
At this point, we don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. However, it will not be unusual if that was to happen. Mm-hmm. Recall, in fact, even with the Main Street Corridor project, there's funding that is coming from the federal level, the state level, and the local level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Excellent. I think the more funding we can get for our community, the better.
Yeah.
Excellent. Moving on in our agenda, fiscal year 2021 budget transfers. The board will consider approving fiscal year 21 year-end transfer request. Mr. Kamalo?
Yes, through the chair, this is one of our end-of-year rituals where we are looking for opportunities to augment certain budgets based on savings that we've accomplished in some areas of the budget. It's a process that is allowed for by the Mass General laws. And tonight here with us is Ben Sweeney, the Senior Accounting Manager, who can walk you through the specific requests, the two requests that we've made for.
Ben.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as Mr. Kamala mentioned, MGL Chapter 44, Section 33B, if approved by the Select Board Appropriation Committee, allows the town to transfer between appropriated budget categories in the last 2 months of a fiscal year or the first 15 days of the following fiscal year. So I'm requesting a budget transfer of $126,000 from the health insurance line item to the town council line item to fund expenses incurred related to variety of ongoing legal matters, as noted in your packet. So savings were obtained in the health insurance line item through favorable negotiation of contracts, employee utilization, and conservative budgeting. Legal expenditures fluctuate from year to year based on events of operations, including matters related to the LNG facility, both the recent expansion of the facility and the tax appellate case. Union negotiations, review and advice on amendments to zoning and general bylaws, ordinance, regulations, charters, and many others. So often these matters are dependent on external factors and are difficult to precisely predict in the budget cycle. So during the budget process, the appropriate spending level is balanced with tax impact. And in that context, legal costs are generally budgeted less conservatively with the knowledge that health insurance is budgeted conservatively. So the Appropriation Committee approved the transfer of $126,000 from the health insurance line item to the Town Council at their meeting on June 29th, and welcome any questions you may have.
Board members?
I have no questions.
Mr. Fournier?
Well, I just have one question. It just seems like every single year we are taking some of our resources. Every year we have to add to the legal expenses. And I can't remember when we didn't have to transfer into legal expenses for some reason. And I'm just wondering is if any way we can project better what our legal expenses are going to be.
I think that's a hard one to answer. But
I'm sure it is, because it happens constantly.
Right.
Through the chair, Mrs. Lafrenia, that's a very good question. It's a good question from the viewpoint of reminding us that when we formulate budgets, we need to be very diligent in our projections. I can confess over the years, it's been very difficult to hit that mark in relation to the legal budget. However, your point, at least what I'm taking from you, is we need to do a better job. We need to keep working at it. So I think we will continue to work on that. However, it's so difficult to project what may come, how long it may take, and as I think we have seen in the last 6 months, there are surprises that do show up that we absolutely, from a risk management viewpoint, need to take care of as a town.
I'll pony on Ms. Lafreniere's statement, but I liken it to the salt budget for the DPW, and we just sat through an executive session on some stuff that's going to increase our legal stuff, and it's so hard to predict when we're going to need attorneys, and makes a strong case for LegalZoom, doesn't it?
Ms. Ritterbusch?
I don't think I have anything additional to add. It is a lot of money, but at the same time, I understand you can't predict exactly what you're going to need in legal services every year.
So I think we can predict better. We have averaged $292,000 each year over the 4 years by my math. And we have missed the mark by as little as 25% and as much as 102%. So I'd like to know what we've budgeted for this year, and if we're even, if we're just, going to be doing the same thing again. And unlike the snow removal, there's no downside to accurately projecting the legal budget. If we overestimate on snow, then we are not able to recover that, right? But for legal, it comes back to in terms of free cash for what we can adjust in the budget.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yeah. Our legal budget has perhaps 3 different components. There is the retainer, there is the unclassified grouping that is outside the retainer but partially funded through perhaps other appropriations. It could be DPW or through specific projects. For example, if we are doing the 2535 Main Street parking lot, we have some amount that is budgeted towards that. There's also the third component where through negotiation, we may ask entities that cause the town to incur the legal costs to fund that portion. Mm-hmm. And negotiations are not guaranteed. At times the developers do agree, at times they don't agree. So that's part of the complexity around how much we can budget. And also, at times we also negotiate with town council what to pay for and what to push under the retainer. We can't play our hand in such negotiations.
So what did we budget for this year?
$200,000 for town council through the chair.
Okay. So, so over the last 4 years, the actual has been 318, almost 319, 269, 304, and almost 280. So it seems like we could be closer.
Yeah. Again, I think the point is well taken. More work needs to be done in terms of projecting how much we budget for legal.
So the only comment I have is this is coming from savings from the health insurance?
Yes.
And how are we able to realize those savings?
Through employee utilization, favorable negotiation of contracts, and generally conservative budgeting, because the employees are able to elect whichever coverage they're allowable for. So generally, we budget conservatively, especially if new employees are coming on, that we don't know which plan they'll pick, and it is up at their discretion. So.
Okay, great. So I request a motion to approve the fiscal year 2021 budget transfers request totaling $126,000 as follows.
So moved.
As follows. Transfer from the health insurance, $126,000. Transfer to town council, $126,000.
So moved.
Yeah.
Second.
Yeah. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Okay, great. Thank you, Ben.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you, Ben.
Town manager and police chief annual goals. The board will discuss and set annual goals for the town manager and police chief. So we were all given the packets for the FY 2021 stretch goals.
Could I ask a process question ahead of time?
Sure.
In the future, is it possible to get these ahead of time, to be thinking about them? And also for the public to have some transparency into what the goal discussion would be about?
Absolutely. I think traditionally we haven't had it ahead of time, right?
I thought there might be an HR requirement that we didn't get in advance. I'm not sure. But.
Yeah. I've seen it happen both ways. There are moments when they've made it the packet. There are moments when the discussion has occurred live at the meeting.
Some people are quicker thinking than I am. I'm always happy to have them ahead of time, and I think the public is too, if it's possible.
I agree, if it's possible.
So, how do we go about doing this? We have, so we'll start with Mr. Norman Kamalu, our town manager. We have 3 objectives. So I think it's important to note that the goals should be aligned with the town's mission. It should not be, should we have Maria Casey with us for this? Is she joining us?
Is Maria?
All right, Maria, I think you're almost here.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, Maria.
Hi, everybody. I'm sorry the sound is not the greatest, so I'm hoping I can hear you all well.
We can hear you perfectly fine.
Okay, great.
So, do you want to take this away?
Oh, sure. So each year, a theme, if you will, is developed. This year, the theme was, one being programmatic, one being, teamwork related. And, given COVID and the rough 16 months we've all been through, as well as the strategic plan, one being self-care. Feedback from the town manager was a civic engagement plan to support the direction, planning, and rationale of the town's revenue recovery plan. The teamwork one was to collaborate with the fire chief and police chief in defining a roadmap to formalize the town's community risk reduction. We know Chief Slayman loves that. And the self-care one was to achieve a work-life balance. Similarly but different, the police chief had thought to increase community interaction and awareness of police department roles, responsibilities, and programs through the use of social media platforms, department website, and in-person attendance at event and meetings, which kind of came a little bit through inferences in his evaluation. And his second one was to increase personal communication with an emphasis on crisis communication. Again, some similar themes through his evaluation. And the teamwork one was similar to the town managers, that to collaborate with the fire chief and town manager to define a roadmap to formalize community risk reduction. So that's what they had offered up as a suggestion in alignment with the performance evaluation, with the town's strategic goals, and the thematic practice.
Okay. Board members, do we have any comments? You should say?
No, so I worked with Mr. Khumalo and Mr. Bennett on this, on these goals. And, you know, I know that with Chief Bennett, he and I both kind of, we had some discussion on this, and these were the one goal for each of those, on the stretch goals, each of the sections that we came up with. And I am, on Mr. Khumalo's, the third one may seem like a very, very kind of vaguely worded goal. However, if anybody knew the amount of time, and I'm not saying the board, I'm saying people not in the public, if they knew the amount of time and effort that Mr. Khumalo has put into our town, especially during the COVID pandemic, where the majority, where a number of people were home, not working and not working, where Mr. Khumalo, he's got 100 kids at home and a wife, and he's up here, he didn't stop. And Mr. Khumalo has been, as a chair on the committee, Mr. Khumalo has been available to me basically 24 hours a day, at least 18. And I know that a lot of people in my circle of acquaintances will question the work that Mr. Khumalo does, and I explained to them, if you broke it down, his salary down to an hourly salary based on the amount of time that he does, it's a very nominal salary. So, and knowing, like Mrs. Kramer said tonight, we did lose a couple of people from a couple of young kids in this town, tragically in the last year or so. Well, it's very important. Mental health doesn't stop with kids at a certain age. It's very important for our employees, and it's our job to look out for the best for Hopkins, but it's also our job to look out for the best for our employees. Achieving a work-life balance is a huge thing. And I know that for the last 4 or 5 years, in different ways, we've kind of hammered Mr. Khumalo into taking some vacation, and we want him to take his vacation time, and he's just such a dedicated and devoted employee. It's important for me as a selectman to look out for the best for my employees, and the 3 direct employees that report to us are Mr. Khumalo, Chief Bennett, and Chief Slamman. And it's very important for me to kind of embrace their mental health and make sure that they do. It's great that they're devoted and dedicated to the town, but there's a whole lot more to life than the town of Hopkins. So this was one that I kind of insisted that we put on, and just kind of vaguely worded it, just.
I get you. I think it. We want you to stay around, and I think your mental health is a big part of it. So I like that. Ms. Lafreniere?
Well, I just want to commend both, both chiefs and Mr. Khumalo, because my suggestion a year ago was that they make themselves more publicly visible, and I have seen them everywhere this year, and I'm very grateful to that fact, and I think that the people need to feel them approachable in all those ways, and I think that communication with the public is extremely necessary right now. with the events of the last year. And I think having you guys out there is helping build the confidence in the community that we look for all the time. So I applaud you. You're all doing much better at that than you had done previously, or than had been done previously. And that's about all I have to say right now.
Okay. Ms. Ritterbush?
Yeah, I was just thanks, Mr. Tedstone, for explaining that one for the public's benefit. And then also, I really agree that this civic engagement plan to support the direction for planning and going forward in the recovery plan is really important. I think that's a really good goal. And let's see, what else? Oh, are we going to go around later about the police chief, or should I do it all together there?
I think we're doing them together.
I think we're doing them together,
yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, I think these really capture the things we mentioned when we reviewed these in May. Increased community interaction and awareness of the police department roles, and, better social media and website. I can see they're already starting to work on that. Let's see, increasing personal communication skills. So I think these seem very much in line with what we discussed in May. So thank you.
Ms. Kramer?
Yes. So being a social worker, that whole self-care thing is a thing, and it's important to do. And I read that there are some, in keeping with the SMART goals, there are some wonderful measurable milestones that you can, click off and know that you've done. I also know that you went to DC on a very relaxing trip with your middle school age kids, so you're good for a little bit, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure that's real relaxing.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
The sarcasm was not lost.
But also wonderful, right? I'm so glad that you did it. I'm so glad that you had that opportunity. I'm glad your kids had that opportunity. In this whole environment, it's really a gift. I guess if I had one piece of feedback on that one, I would add, and maybe it's here, it does say define accountability in a support system, but I'm thinking more explicitly about identifying the supports that you discover through this process that will help you maintain that kind of work-life balance and will support you in the work that you want to do here. I think that's important for us to know, for the town to be aiming at providing those ongoing supports. I have to appreciate the roadmap to formalize the community risk reduction plan. So as a social worker and a mom, safety is a thing for me, amazing. But I like Amy, you know this, Mr. Kamala, of me, civic engagement is sort of what puts, the beat in myself, right? It's the heartbeat. And I hope that also includes, as part of this, I noticed that deadline is earlier, so it's halfway through the year. And I hope that it includes sort of the next step, or also includes engagement with the community around the ways that we are able to use that recovery funding when it comes in, right? Because I think that when we find out how we might be able to use the money, it will be important for the departments and the community to have a shared stake in how that's prioritized.
Thank you.
And I will just note, it's not a criticism for Chief Bennett, but there isn't a self-care piece on here for you.
He's too new. That doesn't happen for at least 3 or 4 years.
Next year.
Yeah, come on forward,
Yeah,
Chief.
please.
Through the chair. Mrs. Kramer, I thought that given the importance of communication and the stress that it causes me, it actually was a self-care.
Okay.
I want to be a strong communicator, and I want to be the community to know what we do and how we do it, and especially in crisis. Every review of any major incident, every review of a crisis, communication is always found to be, could be better. So if I can improve that, maybe it'll take a little stress off.
Okay, well, that's a fair response. So I wanted to say that The increased community interaction and awareness of your roles and responsibilities is something, you know, I mentioned that a long time ago when I attended the report out from the study that you did. Like, it's hard for the public to know all that you do when all that we see is whatever it is we read in the paper, which is not really the same as knowing all that you do. So I'm really gratified that is already taking place. I think I've seen dramatic improvement. Certainly you lead by example. I see you out there in fun times, tough times, important times for the community. So I absolutely appreciate that. You just told us though that it's a place that you could use support. So that's in the crisis communication. So I invite you to use the depth on the bench in the community and make sure that we're helping you. However we need to help you, whether it's with professional supports or whatever it is. If there's a way that the town can be more supportive actively, we want to be. So, and maybe do a little bit more than that for yourself, right? But I appreciate that, and I certainly appreciate the collaboration with the fire chief and town manager on the risk reduction plan. I would say that I think that in my time on the planning board, I've noticed a marked increase in intentional efforts to coordinate through departments in town, and that's kudos to everybody involved. That's really great leadership in the departments in the town, and I appreciate that. And that kind of increased collaboration is only going to help us all.
Yeah, I think Mr. Khumalo built an amazing team, and through COVID, all of your department heads and worked together as one, and I'm really proud to be a part of it, of the senior leaders.
So the only thing I'm in support of all of these objectives. I don't think there's a lot I can really add. Chief Bennett, please take care of yourself. When we're talking about the mental health, yes, better communication will help with stress relief, but you know, we have resources within the town to help you as well. I know that being chief of police cannot be an easygoing job. So I think that's certainly part of it. I know you're new, but
learned a lot.
I know that you got a lot of stress too. So, but yeah, I think I'm in support of the goals that have been worked out. So, Maria, do we need to vote on this? Do we need to do anything?
Can I just make one more comment?
Sure.
So, Chief and Norman, you guys both know that the first 20 years of my professional life was dedicated to teamwork. I was a guy that always made sure the guys on my team were safe. You guys need to know that myself and the board have your back, bar none, no matter what. You're our team, and we have your back no matter what. So if things start to go a little squirrely, you need a little timeout, a little talk with. We're all here for you, and I know that I have a very good relationship with both. Joe, I've known you for 20 years or so, and Norman 6 years, but we have your back, and we don't want you to, don't get stressed out about stuff like that. There's always tomorrow. And I know that, I've had conversations with you about this. You inherited a great department.
Absolutely.
You then took on a pandemic. You took on a ton of social media scrutiny, and you came out of it looking like the champion that you are. That's the reason why you're here. That's the reason why you're here. So we have your back, bar none, no matter what. We have your back.
Well, thank you. Through the chair, I've always felt supported, and we do have a great team, as well as a lot of good practices and history in play, and definitely the support of the community. So it's going to be a good year. We're going to do a lot of great things in furtherance of both my goals and the strategic plan, and I'm really excited, looking forward.
You'll still never get it. Clearly outstanding for me.
Never? How about once before you leave?
Nope.
Maria, do we need to vote, or Or are we just moving on?
I think there's a motion here, isn't there?
I don't see
See it,
one.
actually.
Nope, there's not.
There's
My
not.
bad.
Okay.
Could I just ask a process question that Muriel mentioned for Maria? Is there a reason we couldn't have these in advance and there be in the packet? There may be a restriction on personnel records, or?
Sure, point well taken.
They can be.
They can be.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So again, as someone that takes the bullets for the team, a lot of it, I have a lot of irons in the fire, and I know that I was the one that was supposed to get things going a little bit sooner, and I just had a whole slew of stuff between my work and my personal life and things that have been going on. So a lot of it, I dropped the ball on. This is why we're getting it now. It has nothing to do with Maria or these two here. They had their goals submitted in plenty of time. It's me that dropped the ball.
Got it.
Well, just as long as we know who to blame, Brenda.
Big shoulders.
Yep.
All right, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you,
Town
Chief.
manager report. Mr. Khumalo.
Yes, included in your packet is the town manager report. The first part of the report provides an update on the Main Street Corridor project, focusing this time specifically on some of the budget issues. If you have any questions, feel free please to reach out. As well as by way of this meeting, I'm reaching out to members of the public. If they have any questions, they should feel free to reach out to Michelle Maddock, who is in charge of the communications with the public. The second issue that I've brought forth to the board is in relation to the hiring freeze. We are requesting that the board consider lifting the hiring freeze entirely. The reasons we feel are recommending, or the reasons why we're recommending this action is that, for one, we believe we have met the goals that we set for ourselves when we put the hiring freeze in place, namely emphasizing on the efficiencies of our internal team. We've continued to do that. We've even had opportunities where we have found ways to promote from within. Secondly, we felt that the hiring freeze would be a good avenue for having an open and transparent process to discuss new hires in public at these meetings. We have done so. And then thirdly, there was a budgetary component to it. We were facing a tough budget year, and at the 2020 September annual town meeting, we approved a very tight budget. And we used the savings from the hiring freeze to fund some of the pressing service issues at that time. I can report to the public and to the board that the hiring freeze saved the town over $500,000. Some coming from the enterprises and some coming from the general fund. We are also recognizing that the governor has now lifted the state of emergency, and on top of this is the very well reported labor shortage throughout the nation. We can share with you that the positions that we have advertised very recently, we have, one, had to advertise very widely using some of the sources, some new sources that we've never used before, and two, we've been very lucky to get the qualified candidates such as the ones that we presented tonight. However, as we are seeing, for example, with the principal assessor, I checked recently with other area town managers, there are over 20 open principal assessor positions in the state. So we're thinking that if we can lift the hiring freeze, we can set in place a process where we're moving very quickly, very nimble, but in a compliant way, still complying with the town bylaw and with the charter in our hiring process, but being able to move very quickly to fill positions. So with that, I'm requesting that the board consider lifting the hiring freeze entirely. We will still, even if the freeze is lifted, we will still have that sit down where we bring in the internal team to discuss with the hiring manager what the pressing issues are, if there are other ways of filling the position and meeting the need, and also if they've done a simple general evaluation as to are there other ways of delivering the service.
So one of the concerns, I think, when we instituted the hiring freeze was the uncertainty, the budgetary uncertainty moving forward with the pandemic. So are we feeling that there is more certainty, that we're, with the lifting of restrictions, that we're on more solid ground now?
Yeah, two points in answer to your question. One, we've been able to chaperone 2 budgets through this process. Budgets that have funded expansions as well as retaining our higher levels of service. So even against that constraint, where we were not so sure what the financial outlook would be, we were still able to finance or come up with a very reasonable financing plan for those 2 budgets. The other piece is that, remember, back in 2020, we did project what we thought the recovery tempo was going to be. From a revenue side, we've met the goals that we had projected, i.e., yes, it's going to be slow. Yes, unfortunately for us, our revenues were not substantially impacted. So the concern that we may have had back in 2020 relative to what will the recovery be is no longer as strong as now, where we have seen what the recovery is and we seem to be doing fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, granted, let me restate that. When I say doing fine, I am very mindful of the impact of COVID-19 on most families here in town. There are people who are going through difficult times.
Board members, any thoughts, comments?
So as excited as I am to have everything go back to pre-COVID status, it's very attractive. I'm very attracted to hear you say that we saved $500,000 with the hiring freeze.
Mm-hmm.
So if we kept the hiring freeze on for another year, would we save another $500,000? I don't know, but I feel, anytime that you're adding a position, it's coming before us, correct?
For affirmation, correct.
Yeah. So, and you have a budget that you have to work within, and I guess I'm taking a political point of view here. I'm for both sides. I'm for lifting the hiring freeze and still saving $500,000, or $500,000 if it's easy.
Good luck with that fence sitting there, Brendan.
Yeah.
Mary Jo? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Oh, go. Sorry. Go ahead. I don't really have much to add on this one.
When I was first looking at this, I said, I don't know if I want to lift the whole hiring freeze right now. COVID is still active, and then there's that new strain of COVID, and I don't want to do something that we're going to have to turn around and go back and do it like we do. So I was very much in favor of the second motion, to lift the freeze on library, fire, assessor, youth and family services, which we muchly need to fill almost immediately. And I'm just cautious, that's all.
So I guess my thoughts are, I would lean toward the first option for lifting the hiring freeze, because we would still be limited by the budget approved at town meeting, and we would still get to affirm all the appointments. I guess the labor shortage is real, and a lot of people are leaving their jobs, not just in Hopkinton, but where I work too, and throughout the state. That's been in the news. And I think when these key positions open up, we need to be able to move quickly and on job search, rather than wait for the next meeting of the select board to lift the hiring freeze for those positions. So I would lean towards removing the hiring freeze entirely at this point. But definitely for these four key positions.
Ms. Kramer?
Yeah, I would actually build on what Amy just said. I appreciate that. I agree with all of those reasons, but I think for me, there's a bigger reason. I think it's more in keeping with the structure of the town charter and all of our rules that the hiring freeze should be lifted. We know from experience that Mr. Khumalo is going to come to us again if he needs it back, and we'll have that conversation at that time. But I think it is sort of it's a step back towards normalcy and healthier working relationships, and I'm prepared to vote to lift the freeze.
So I don't really have much more to add than everything I've heard. I'd like to save another $500,000. I just want to address one other thing, is that with the Delta variant, that is something that worries me, but, you know, if we go back into lockdown, or the Delta variant really deals another blow, well, we can revisit the hiring freeze at that point. So I'm in favor of lifting the hiring freeze as well. So with that, I request a motion to remove the hiring freeze that the board instituted during the COVID-19 pandemic.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. How do we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstained? Great.
Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if I could, just while we're on the town manager report, I just want to thank the town manager, Dave Del Torio and Michelle, being new to the board and new to some of the issues. Just going back to the Main Street Corridor project update, they supported a meeting where I went out and met with the residents, and truly appreciated that. And I think that the big takeaway is communication is the key, and some of the things that we talked about that might be improvements that the town employees supported is things like spotters for safety if there is unloading in the actual streetway as opposed to in the parking lot. A commitment that the use intensity will not increase over the life of the project, so there won't be any surprises for use intensity. And then also, we talked a little bit about this, but this would be for anybody, any anticipated road closures as best as we are able should be communicated as early as possible. And then the last specific question somebody had, I know that some information has gone from the health department following a health concern way back in the spring. But I think the piece that they were still looking for is if there was any measurements of the air quality from the fumes. So I don't know if we can follow up on that for those folks. Anyway, but thank you again for supporting that meeting. It was good to be part of it, good to meet the neighbors, and appreciated the town support.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Great. Is anything else?
Executive minutes.
Yes, we will pass on that one for tonight. We'll be back next meeting.
All right, moving on. Liaison reports, board invites. The board will correct a vote taken at the last meeting appointing Muriel Kramer to the Marathon Fund Committee.
And the board takes away.
The two vacancies on the committee are set aside for Parks and Rec and the school committee representatives, so the select board has only one liaison position at this time. So with that, I request a motion to rescind the vote of the board taken at its meeting on July 15, 2021, appointing Muriel Kramer to the Marathon Fund Committee, and to confirm that Muriel Kramer is the board's liaison.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. Anyone have liaison reports?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
Muriel and I went to the last meeting of the Marathon Fund Committee, which was held on the Common, and it was excellent. It was a beautiful atmosphere and just a nice meeting about the scholarships that they give out this year, and
Awesome.
and it was a very nice to go to and say goodbye to everybody. The other thing, I just wanted to mention something else, which isn't in my liaison report, but I want to congratulate the boys' baseball team that made it all the way to the state finals. Unfortunately, that game didn't go their way, but wow, what a season they've had, and they deserve all the credit that we can give them. So that's just something that I personally wanted to say congratulations to the boys. One other thing is Norman has informed us that Legacy Farms is up to date with their financial obligations, and the public often asks about that, so I thought I would just say they're up to date.
So in the theme of Ms. Lafreniere's Hopkinen sporting events, I would love to recognize Hopkinen's own Jimmy Herbal, who is a member at the country club and went all through Hopkinen schools. He qualified for the U.S. Open.
Wow.
And it was just absolutely an awesome accomplishment. I think that kid beat me in golf when he was about 6. And I don't think that tradition is going to stop. But wonderful parents, wonderful kid, and just another, and it's another, Coach Bliss, who was the golf coach forever, has now put Jimmy Hervel, he's put John Curran, and he's put Keegan Bradley and Kim Donahue. So 3 guys and on the PGA Tour, and Kim Donahue, I believe, on the Nike Tour. So just out of little old Hopkinton, they've these 4 golfers are now professional golfers.
That's incredible.
And it's great. And Coach Bliss was the recipient. It was one of the most heartwarming things that I've seen in a long time. Coach Bliss had lost his wife last week, a couple of weeks ago, and when the baseball team came in second with the trophy, instead of taking it and putting it on display in the high school, Coach Bliss was there. They all of them went out in a very moving ceremony and handed him the trophy to kind of celebrate everything that he's done for the town and to show the appreciation that the town has for him. So it was really awesome.
That's incredible.
It was Facebook worthy, and not many things that I do are Facebook worthy, but it was clearly Facebook worthy.
Sudabush?
Yeah, I cannot remember if I mentioned this at a previous meeting or not, but I had attended something for the Cultural Council as part of the Historic District about the idea of creating a cultural district in Hopkinton. They have one in, I've driven through a couple of them recently. Natick has one, and Franklin. And it's something, it makes you eligible for some state funding, but doesn't have the same restrictions as you'd have in a historic district. And it was a really interesting concept, and the people that were at the meeting seemed interested in it. So maybe we should get more information. In Hopkinton, it could be something that incorporated both the historic district and maybe as far as the HCA and the International Marathon Center. And it's just an interesting idea, and you could take a look at it when you see them in other towns. Yeah, so it seems like a good opportunity. And let's see, future agenda items. I attended a Board of Appeals meeting recently, and I believe I heard that it was Rory Warren had resigned, so maybe we should find out about if that's the case and get that on the agenda so we can, he's not, okay. Okay, and then the ADA Oversight Committee, I'm listed as the liaison for that, but I believe it is an inactive committee, so I don't know if that might be a future agenda item to discuss if that needs to be reactivated. Okay?
Okay. Yeah, Ms. Kramer?
Yes, so as Mary Jo pointed out, we went to the Marathon Fund Committee. The next one, just for anybody who's interested, is November 8th, after the marathon in October. It was really wonderful to see people and get connected and hear about the amazing young people they were able to award scholarships to. So it's a really wonderful little event. I also went to the Youth Commission meeting, and I should say they have done amazing work in a year when many of us were working really hard to figure out how to get things accomplished. So they do a national night out in the fall. They do a bridge program at the schools that they kept going. They supported families, and that includes seniors in need at the holiday times. They did a gift drive at the holiday times. They held their virtual MLK Day, which is an amazing event for those of us who have been there. They held a student-run blood drive during COVID. Wow. On every level, right? congratulations to that student getting that done, and congratulations to everybody for making it happen. They also recently supported the Pride Parade and made that possible, and I think that we could look forward to their ongoing support of that, which is amazing. One of the things they talked about extensively was the way that they've grown their youth liaison program, which is really wonderful and very often attracts young people with so much to offer who don't necessarily get noticed in the conventional way. Carves out a lane for a lot of kids to get involved in different ways. So kudos to them. And I guess I would suggest that it would be nice, when we had an agenda that could support it, it would be nice to have them come in and sort of catch us up on the work that they do and what their aspirational goals are, because they're very much a committee on the move. So congratulations to them.
Absolutely.
Yep. And then the only thing, it seems Mary Jo did it and everybody else did it. It's not really on the liaison, but I wanted to give a shout out to the HCA. It follows a little bit with what Amy said. They very recently put out a comprehensive and very aspirational, very well done statement on diversity and inclusion and their goals for the future, and acknowledging the work that they need to do, and congratulations to them. It was really beautifully done and could serve as a model for other groups and committees and so forth. I was really very impressed. So.
Awesome. So the only thing I would add is we attended the Pride Parade, and it was a fantastic event. I know the town manager, the chief, police chief, fire chief all attended. It was a fantastic event, and kudos to Freya for putting it all together.
She's a force.
She's passion on her presentation, huh?
She's a force. She's amazing to have come into contact with and heard from. So congratulations to her.
I just wanted to make one correction.
Sure.
I spoke to Irfan, and at the last meeting, he was reappointed to the BAA. For some reason, the X got put next to my name. So I just want to straighten that out.
All right, with that.
Okay, I move to adjourn the meeting.
The only thing was future agenda items. I know that I kind of snuck that in there. I just wondered if we could, and again, it's not a priority, but we could touch base. We did have a community concern, and it's been a concern for me too, and a concern as a member of the planning board and so forth. I remember famously saying that I choose my gas depending on which direction I'm driving on that road, and not by brand. It's really all for safety. But I think we used to, I know the planning board, and I don't remember off the top of my head, in the permitting for the new all-town that's going in, mandated particular turning out of the facility for safety. And I know that at Cumbies there used to be a no left turn sign, and we should probably consider not only putting that no left turn sign back, but maybe talking about different measures to ensure safety, particularly in that really crazy exchange that's so close to that intersection. So
That's one of the day that we received that email. As I was passing by, I saw an accident there.
Are we talking about just the Cumbies intersection?
Well,
because I've had a lot of complaints about taking that a left turn out of CVS and next door. Because you have to cross two lanes.
Yep, it
You
wouldn't
need the left lane.
It's the
and
two-lane.
It's been very difficult.
It's the two-lane thing, I think, that gets you.
It should be a right turn and then left.
I think
should have to go up and come down.
the agenda item.
Yep.
So we can talk about it then. I think it's a great idea to put it on the agenda then.
And it would be good to know what role, if any, we would have in
Exactly.
because we all see the concern.
Great.
Yep.
So I heard a motion.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Good night.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Well done.